Hey there, and welcome to the Discipline of Discipleship, where hopefully you'll learn some of the disciplines that it takes to being a disciple. Today I want to talk a little bit about one of the disciplines that we do find very difficult to do, especially in this world when we're surrounded by so many people that are looking to cause us problems and to take Christians away from their identity in God. And the discipline I want to focus on is one that really caught me when I was going through some mental health struggles a couple of years ago. Now, it got me so much because God really wanted to reinforce this message over and over again to me. Now, I fell ill in about May time, and as part of our work we would travel around to different churches and be able to go and share in fellowship with lots of different places. But inevitably, as I was struggling, there seemed to be a common theme that happened at the churches that I went to. People had felt led by God the night before the service to bring a different kind of word to that week into the church. And little did they know that we were there and able to be part of the congregation that day. And the focus every single week was trust. It all rotated its way back to the words of Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 and 6, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight." But for me, it was the important thing to trust God. And that meant to put all my hope and my faith in his word. And these days, it's very difficult to find people that will trust God at his word. And they're always looking for another interpretation or some hidden meaning behind what the Bible says. When God says to be holy or be perfect, we take it at his word because his word is absolute truth. And that's what I had to do with the word trust. The trouble is, I wasn't very good at doing that. So much so that for these 3 months, every sermon, every Sunday morning was changed so that I could hear the message to trust God. And then when I didn't get it, God renamed the pharmacy across the road from our house to be the Trust Pharmacy. Still I didn't get it, and I had to go through that season to learn to be delivered and set free and be in a place where I could put 100% of trust in God. And now that means that whatever the circumstance that we face, all my trust is in him because he knows what's best. That doesn't mean that I'm going to live my life happy and go through no difficult circumstances, but what it does mean is that whatever I'm doing and wherever I'm going, God is with me and has planned this for me, and I indeed have to trust him in that. I spoke in the last session about the words trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus. Trust also brings freedom, and the freedom to know that you put your life in the hands of the one who created this world, and he is the one that is worthy of our trust. The practical thing is, how do we do that? What level in our life do we put our trust in him? What parts do we do? And what parts do we let God take over? Well, I don't know where the divide on that really comes. Because everything that you do and every journey that you go on, you need to trust God. Trust that he wakes you up in the morning. Trust that he's put you in the place that you're meant to be. And that whatever the experience that you'll go through, is part of his plan and his development to be able to lead you to be a disciple, I guess. Trusting God. Now, do we trust God with our jobs? We trust God with our provision in the same way that we expect to be paid at the end of every month or whenever we get paid, whether on benefits. We expect that payday to come, and we put trust. We put trust in a manufacturer of a chair every time we sit on it, that it's going to withstand our weight. I trust God for my breath every day. And if I find that I can't breathe anymore and I'm called home, well, for me to live as Christ and to die as gain. I trust God in every single walk and every single place that I go. He has got me in his hands. That means every decision, every relationship that I enter into is part of his plan. And that trust then links very closely to sovereignty. Now, sovereignty is a very difficult doctrine because it means that God is in control of everything. He's sovereign. He rules over everything. For me, and whether you choose to agree my take on that, it means that he is in control. And nothing happens outside of his will or plan. People don't like that because that means every circumstance God is aware of. I'm not going to say he causes, but that his sovereignty means that he is aware of that. But even in those places, we are called to trust him. Let me take an example that I borrow from David Wilkerson about how it is that we must trust God. He gives this wonderful example that the Israelites have left everything they knew behind. Moses had asked Pharaoh to set them free and he'd allowed them to go. And as they gathered on the shores of the Red Sea, in the distance they could hear an army coming to kill them. Now, before them was the sea, certain death and drowning. Behind them was an army coming to kill them. They'd left everything to go to a land that they'd never seen, only one that they'd been promised about. In no place did they have certainty. Do you really believe that God expected them to trust him? With the Israelites, with the Egyptians coming to kill them and with the sea in front of them? Well, yes, of course he did, because without faith it's impossible to please God. And he will reward those that diligently choose to put their trust in him. If you get made redundant and you have no hope and nothing to come, let me ask you this question. Can you trust God? If you receive a diagnosis that says you're going to die and your life is going to come to an end, can you still trust God? Whatever the circumstances that we face, whatever the difficulties that are put before us, our trust has to be in God, the author and perfecter. That's Jesus. We put our trust in him. And that means that whatever he asks us to do and wherever he calls us to go, we will go because we trust in his word and believe in his promises. We take God at his word. He says he'll never leave us nor forsake us. He says we'll have trouble, but we must take heart because he overcame the world. We must put our trust in him. Even if he takes us across the stormy seas, even if he takes us in to the belly of a whale, we must put our trust in him. And I can certainly say that if you trust in God, that is something that a disciple does. But we have to look beyond the circumstances, and that's what makes it a discipline. So trust is definitely a discipline of a disciple.